Okay, so second part of notes from Monday 227. Some of us didn't get to any of them, some of us got to part of them, but we're going to wrap it up and we'll hopefully be able to come right in on Wednesday and make sure that we have our notes and we'll be able to start our practice. So we're looking at factoring when polynomials win. So the title of your page 39 is factoring quadratic trinomials. A is equal to 1. Okay, it's page 39 we're on, and we date it 227. Okay, leave that there for a second. During this video, if you need to pause it, please take the time to pause it, rewind, fast forward, go back, whatever you need to do to make sure you get the notes and you understand what we're talking about. Okay? Alrighty, so let's start. Alright, we have 3 conditions to factor in this form. Okay, we're going to do different types of forms, and as we go through it, hopefully it becomes easier and easier. So, the first thing that we need to have, so our first condition, the degree is 2, so it has to be a quadratic, which is what the title of our page kind of told us. We were going to deal with quadratics. Okay, so the degree is 2. We have a quadratic. The number of terms is 3. So we have a trinomial. Okay, so again, our title kind of alluded that we were going to be factoring quadratic trinomials. And the last and the most important condition is that the coefficient of the squared term is 1. So, coefficient of the squared term is 1. Okay, so super duper uber important. Alright, so we're going to walk through the steps by first using this general formula and then going through and actually doing problems, and then I'll post some example problems that we actually will work through in class on Wednesday, but I want you to give them a try before we get here on Wednesday. That way that we can hit really any big misconceptions, because you guys might get it right on the first bat and then we won't really have to spend a lot of time on it, which is our goal. So we're looking at this polynomial. Now, before we move on, we need to discuss A, B, C, and D. Or A, B, C, no D. So this is your A, here's your B, and here's your C. If you notice, this has a B and this has a C. This A is not here. We should know that if nothing is written in front of a variable, that we say the coefficient is 1. That is why the squared term of the coefficient is 1. A equals 1. Okay. This over to this side is our X puzzle. Okay, and we'll come back to that, but I wanted you to be aware of that. Alright, so the first thing that we have to do, the first step, is to draw your parentheses and fill in the variable. Okay, so draw your parentheses and fill in the variable. So you're literally going to draw parentheses. Okay, so parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. A set of parentheses. 1, 2. Then fill in your variable. In this case, our variable is x. Okay, so x, x. There's step 1. Nice and easy. Step 1 is the easiest step. You just draw parentheses and fill in the variable. Step number 2. In X puzzle, okay, I told you we're coming back to the X puzzle. So our X puzzle right here, you're going to place B in the addition spot. And C in the multiplication spot. Okay, so we really haven't talked about multiplication spot or addition spot. We're going to talk about that right now. Alright, so which is which? Well, the bottom spot, so this spot right here, this is your addition spot. Okay, that's your addition spot. The top over here, this little spot, is your multiplication spot. Okay, so now we got to get in there what we need in there. Okay, so it says place B in the addition spot. So this is B, the coefficient in front of X. Okay, so that's going to go down here, and there's B. Okay, now it says place C. Well, of course, eventually we're going to have numbers in there instead of letters. C is right here. It's your constant. Okay, it has no variable, and it's going to go up here. We have C. Okay. All right, so we've filled in our X puzzle. We've placed B and C. Okay, now it's time for step 3. What will the signs be? Okay, so are you going to have a positive and positive, a negative and a negative, or a positive and a negative? Okay, and we're going to go through some tricks on figuring out what we have that kind of help us make those decisions. Okay, so that's all based on these two symbols here, plus plus. So if they're both positive, your factors are both positive. If one is positive and one is negative, means you have both negative. But we'll go through that as we go along, okay? All right. Step number 4, solve the X puzzle. And, place your answers in the parentheses. So in parentheses. Okay? So what does that mean? How do we solve the X puzzles? Well, we'll go more in depth to that when we do our example with numbers, but basically what we do is we take C and we factor it. And we find the factors that will multiply to C, which if we're factoring C, they all should multiply to C, but they have to add in some sort of way to get to B. Okay? So once we figure out what those factors are and we know that they multiply to C and they add to B, we will then place them in here with their signs and then place them in the parentheses. Okay? Your last and final step, step 5, check your work. This is a very important step. Careless mistakes are made when factoring. And when we make careless mistakes, we get points off of our tests and quizzes. So basically, to check your work, you have to distribute. Okay? Foil, distribute, whatever you want to call it. Alright? Now it's time for some actual examples. So, our example. Okay? We are going to factor r squared plus 4r plus 3. Okay, and I did use r. Most of the time I don't. And I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit more. Okay. So, time to do some factoring. Step 1 says to draw your parentheses. So we're going to draw our parentheses. Parentheses 1, parentheses 2. So this is step 1. Fill in our variable. Our variable is r. So r. Your variable always goes, or we try to make it always go in the front of each parentheses. Okay. Step 2. Well, we need an X puzzle because step 2 is dealing with an X puzzle. So we're going to draw our X puzzle over here. Okay. There's our nice, lovely X puzzle. And then we're going to fill in. Now, this is A, this is B, this is C. We know that we can use this method with an X puzzle because our problem meets all these criteria. It has a degree of 2. The largest exponent is 2. The number of terms is 3. 1, 2, 3. Good to go. The coefficient of the squared term is 1. A, there's nothing written for A, so it's 1, so we can use this. Okay, so scooting back up. B, so this B right here is going to go into the bottom, so that's 4, and it's positive. Our C right here is going to go into the top, and that's a positive 3. Okay. You don't have to take your signs with you for positives, but it's just get in the habit of it so that when you have negatives, you can take the signs very easily and you don't forget them. Okay, so we did step 2, so that's step 2. We write number little 2 by that so we know. Okay, so there's step 2. Step 3, what will the signs be? So, they're both positive. Since they're both positive, the signs will be positive. So, positive, positive. Okay, so this right here is step number 3. Okay, there's step number 3. Step number 4 says to solve the X puzzle and place your answer in the parentheses. So we can actually solve this bad boy. Alright, so step number 3. So how do we solve it? Well, we got to look at the factors of 3. Okay, so we do a little quick factor tree. 3 is pretty easy. 1 times 3 is 3, and that's it. 2 doesn't work. 3, we're back to 3. We're on this side, so that's it. So we know we have to have 1 and 3. Well, we also said they were positive, so we know 1 has to be positive and 3 has to be positive. We need to check to make sure that that's correct. So what we do is we say 1 plus 3 equals, does it equal 4? Yep, sure does, so that works. 1 times 3, does that equal positive 3? Yep, that sure does, so that works. So these are our factors. So this right here is step 4. Okay, last part of step 4, just write in your factors, which we just did. Alright, so that's the last part of step 4. So I'm going to kind of do this and write a little 4 so we know that that's step 4 too. Okay. And then step 5. Step 5 says to check your work. We really need to check it to make sure that we did everything correct and we didn't make mistakes. Alright. So, step number 5. Little 5 right here. We are going to take r plus 1 and we're going to multiply by r plus 3. Okay. So, r times r squared. R times 3 plus 3r. 1 times r is just r. 1 times 3 is 3. I think we're on the right track. We got an r squared, we got a 3, we have an r squared, we have a 3. Okay. Combine our like terms. R squared has no like terms. The only like terms are right in the middle. 3r plus r, well that's 4r. And then 3 had no friends, so it's 3. And the final and last thing that we have to do, well, is to actually make sure that they got the same answers. So, they have to be the same. If they're not the same, then we've done something wrong and we have to go back and try to figure out where it is. But they are the same, so we're good. So this is our final answer. And you're finished. Okay? So, those are your notes on factoring quadratic trinomials. The last thing I want you to do, which is going to be on page 40 in your notebooks, is to write the examples. Okay? So, here are our examples. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see it. See all of them at one time. Okay? So these are our examples. Again, this is on page, there it is, page 40. Today's date, 2/27, and examples. We have 1, 2, and 3. I want you to try these on your own. You can write these parts in pen if you want, and then just do your work in pencil. So if you made mistakes or corrections that we need to do, we can just erase and adjust your answers. Okay? All of this needs to be completed before class on Wednesday, notes and examples. We will be going over, we will start basically right with the examples, and then if there's any problems, go from there. Okay? If you do not have this completed by Wednesday, you'll have to watch a video in class and miss us going over example problems and exams. Okay? So please make sure this is done so you can have time in class to do your practice. Thank you.